Right. Welcome. Welcome. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about Pesach.
Okay. So everybody says in every shiur that I hear that people say, no, the word Pesach is too frightening. But I don't think it's true because, first of all, if we plan things in advance, it's much easier. Number two, before Purim, for people that make Purim at home, it's not so easy to make Pesach. So we just have it in a corner and we know that the Hatzolah of Pesach, which we want so much, will come. In Yirtzeh Hashem, we need it desperately. Pesach is a very positive thing. And the question is, we spoke a little bit about it. We spoke about, I think, what did we speak about? We began, right? You remember last week? What did we say already?
I think we were going up to Yayin.
To what?
Yayin?
We were talking about the Haggadah.
Yes, exactly.
The different stages in the Haggadah.
Yeah. So I will just remind you that Mitzrayim, just in order that we should put down to earth what is the work. Like the work of Purim is to have the right glasses and to see Hashem through the hiddenness. This is the end. This is the final part of the year. But we have a connection between Purim and Pesach, which is, of course, the fact that Mordechai had the power to make a Hora'at Sha'ah. And on the year of the salvation of the Jews in Persia, Vayavor Mordechai Vayas Kechol Asher Tzivta Alav Esther, Mordechai took upon himself that they fasted on Leil HaSeder. Because in order that there should be an Am Yisrael, and it shouldn't be a genocide, it's worthwhile once with a real Navi to be able to fast, even though it's a deraisa to eat the first kazais of matzah, in order that later on we can re-begin and be created as a nation and be saved from Egypt. Okay, so Yetziat Mitzrayim, Metzarim on the Pshat level means we are saved from the boundaries of Egypt. No other nation ever managed to get out of Egypt. And Yetziat Mitzrayim, we came out of Egypt. The drash is Metzarim are boundaries, and the boundaries are not only physical, but they're spiritual. Because when a person is free, slowly but surely he can talk again. And we saw this with the people that came out of Russia. At the beginning, they didn't open up their mouths. They were afraid that they are, that one hears everything they say. We saw it after the Holocaust. It took years for people to open up their mouths. And we're going to see it here, I think, very much. I have met people that were 2 or 3 months in Gaza. And at the beginning, it's very hard. I didn't ask questions, but they don't talk. They don't talk. They are under such shock that they don't talk. So if the Yetziat Mitzrayim is a Yetziat Metzarim, from the boundaries of that horrible, horrible period, especially the last 80 years of Egypt, then we have a possibility of a Pesach, and Pesach, the drash is Pesach. Finally, we can express ourselves, thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not immediately, and Pesach, the mouth talks. Okay, so we have Perach, which is Parech, Vayavidu, they made us work the Farech, which means terrible work, women doing men's work, and the opposite. So we have as well Pe, the hay is always volatile. Perach, at the beginning, they seemed to be nice, but in the end, they were horrible with us. And that's the way to do. They seem to seduce us, like it says in Shir HaShirim, that they beg us to join them because they're going to be so nice to us. And we answer, you have no idea what we have. We have such treasures. We have the Torah, and therefore we'll never go with you. But if we don't have the koach to say it and we go towards them, in the end, it's in order to, they say that in mixed marriages, at the beginning, it's so nice. She married a Jew. They don't drink and they don't eat and they do this. And usually it comes to a point where they say dirty Jew to their own husband. not always, but if he's a little bit connected with Judaism, in the end they say dirty Jew. So Perach means at the beginning, Paro came with Perach, just proposing them to do volunteer work for the goyim and everything, and then it became Parech, terrible work. So we have it all the time, Pesach. But the other reason for Pesach is that before we can go out of Egypt, we have to make space for the emes. We have to make space for a new way of looking at things for life. And that's why the name, which is mostly used, is not Chag HaMatzot, is not Zman Cherutenu, but it is Pesach, because it's not just that Hashem passed over the houses of the Jews. There is a nice idea that we call it Pesach because we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for having passed over the houses of Jews and not killed them, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls it Chag HaMatzot because he appreciates that we didn't even have time and we didn't care to make the matzahs because we wanted to go out and follow him Bamidbar or whatever, Lech Tech Acharai Bamidbar, etc. So like with the tefillin, the same thing. Hashem has one pair, we have another pair. He appreciates us, we appreciate him, and that's how the love comes. But Pesach is more, because what Hashem wanted from us is to get rid of all the false ideas that we had no choice but to get during 210 years. And the mashal of this is the keves, which the korban Pesach, which we slaughter and which represents the avodah zarah of the Egyptians. And we slaughter it. That they will be able to slaughter false ideas, fashion and money and whatever we have nowadays, which some people call avodah zarah and everything, will empty the dli, which now we can get the proper, beautiful matanot that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us through the Torah. But if we are full of false ideas, the Torah can't have a proper influence on us. So Pesach is such an important thing because we had to do something which proves that we're ready to empty ourselves from all the garbage in order. That's Pesach, Hashem Pasach, on which houses? The houses that had made, that had taken the lamb and not care about the Egyptians, not be frightened of them, and then put the blood on the lintel of the house. Hashem doesn't need a sign. He knows exactly the difference who is a Jew and who is not. He knows who did the Korban Pesach, who did not do it. He knows as well who is Bechor and who is a second child. So he doesn't need this. But it's a proof that we are ready to begin tabula rasa, beginning from new again. And that's why it fits so much with being the first Chag in the first months, when everything is empty and now we are going to get the Torah. So the whole thing is in order to get the Torah. So this is the concept of Pesach. So we have Pesach, and the other names, as I said, is Chag HaMatzot, Zman Cherutenu. Zman Cherutenu means as well, not just that we empty ourselves, but that we de-block ourselves. It's a time of siyata d'shemaya, that if we have blockages in the world of midot, in the world of emet and sheker, in the world of whatever our behavior, Pesach is a time when HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps us de-block it, get rid of it, and be able to become angels, become fantastic and whatever. So this is all Pesach. So we have Parech, Perach, we have Pesach, and not just the other names. We have Mitzrayim, Yetziat Metzarim. It's as well the idea of de-blocking oneself. And it's important to know these things because that's what we have to work on in the 30 days between Purim and Pesach, to be ready on Pesach, and we continue working on it during Pesach. Zman Simchatenu is called Sukkot. That's a different type of avodah. Pesach is such a karas hatov to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to have de-blocked us. We feel free people now. We feel like HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, time becomes our responsibility. We spoke about it a lot of times. HaChodesh Hazeh, what Hashem is giving us a Chodesh, what it's a present, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. This is the first time that now time is ours. And this is the difference between a slave whose time is not his, and that's why he's patur mi'rov hamitzvot, and when time is ours. And when time is ours and we don't waste it with shtuyot, we feel totally free. We feel free people, and we have the time and the capacity to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So all this is like as an introduction to get into the Avira of Pesach. When we clean on Pesach, it's not just physical. When we clean on Pesach, we clean ourselves. It's very different than Yom Kippur. It's not tshuva, it's cleaning. It's a different story. And it's very, very interesting. And then we begin the night of Pesach. It's called the Seder. And we announce the Seder. A good teacher says, I am going tonight to speak about ta, 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 ta. Then you know where you're holding, and you know that if you come late, where you're up to, etc., etc. So we have 15 words, like Yud and Hey, like Hallelujah is the end. You have the Yud K, and we have the 15 Madrigot to get to the Bet HaMikdash. 15 is a very important number in Yiddishkeit. The Maharal speaks more about it, but just Kadesh Urachat is 15 words. So that's the Seder of the night. Kadesh is going to be the Kiddush. I'm not going to go into all of them now because I want to just tell you a lot of things in little time, and you know it, but I'm getting into the Haggadah and into Pesach. I don't know how much longer we'll be able to. It's going to be Sunday, Monday, Rosh Chodesh, and then after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you tell me you don't have time anymore. You have to cleanse yourself and your house. So I don't know which one. And that's why I want to say the maximum. Kadesh is the first of the 4 cups. The second one is going to be when we finish the Magid, which is we finish the first part with Tehillim. The first part is the only time that we say Tehillim. In most minhagim, the men come back from shul later because they say as well the Hallel at night. I don't know exactly how it is by Sfardim, but I think most of the Sfardim that I know has a minhag to do it as well. Not all Sfardim, but that we say it at night. So the first Kadesh, we begin with Kadesh. And then we have everything Kadesh Urachatz, Karpas Yachatz, Magid. When we finish the first part of Magid, which finishes with 2 songs, with 2 Tehillim of the Hallel again. So, and then we make a stop in the middle. It's interesting. We drink the second cup. And then we have to eat. And we say, we wash our hands for Moitzi. We eat. And when we eat the matzah, with the morah, with the korech, and we set the table and we eat, and then we bench. But when we bench, we have a 3rd cup. And the 4th cup is after the benching, we continue all the Hallel and many more. And then we have the 4th cup. And Nirtza is more songs from different generations. I hope we'll get a little bit of the taste of it as well, to tell you 2 things which are so interesting. And this is going to be Nirtza after the 4 cups. There should be a 5th cup, but there isn't. And there is the cup of Eliyahu Hanavi, because life is not finished, because our history is not finished. We need the best part of history, which is to be saved and to have our last Geula, which is going to be, we wait for it so much. So I'll tell you a few things on the Kiddush. The Kiddush, first of all, the minhag, everybody knows. I don't go into Aloha, but just to remind ourselves to swim into Pesach. It's so hard when we speak about the Adar. And everybody is up and says the Kiddush together. We say all the Kiddush together. And then we begin with the Kiddush, right? So this, as I said, this cup, I wrote myself a lot of things, is the first of the 4 cups. And it goes to a point that halachically, it says in Gemara Psochim, I don't think it's in the Gemara, I think it's in the Mishnah in Psochim. I remember, Zichronah Livracha, my mother was almost 100 years old, and she was all upset. She was brilliant, and she was all upset that she doesn't know enough Kodesh. And I told her, but you know a lot of Mishnah. She said, no, I never learned Mishnah. So I made her realize that the Mishnah of Psochim is half of the Haggadah. So you don't realize that you know so many Mishnayos, even by heart, which is in the Haggadah. But in Mishnah Psochim, in the 10th Perek, it says that the the tzedakah of a community has to go to those that don't have money for wine, because the first cup is so important. The four are important, but all of them are important. Okay. The most famous reason for the four cups is the psukim in Shemot, and it's not in one pasuk. We always say ve'otzeti ve'itzalti ve'galti ve'lakachti, the four expressions of salvation. We think it's in one pasuk. It's not in one pasuk. It's in about 3 psukim, because each time it says more, and it's in the 6th perek of Shemot, Va'era, and ve'otzeti misivlot mitzrayim, etc., etc. And these are the I will take away ve'otzeti. I'll take you out of the suffering of the Egyptian slavery, and ve'otzeti ve'itzalti. Then I will free you from the avdus. It's more, and then I will liberate you with a stretched hand, which is Hashem directly, and then velakachti. And I just remind you that between the 3rd and the 4th, we don't make a hefsek, because if Hashem is saving us, freeing us, not to take us under His wing, then we get to the Hatikva, liot am chofshi be'artzenu, without a continuation. Why to be a liot am chofshi? To become whatever you want to do? No, liot am chofshi velakachti, chas v'sholom. We have to be velakachti as well. And this is the important part. That's why between the 3rd and the 4th, we don't have a meal, for example. We don't have a real hafsaka, because it's too dangerous. We have the three words of freedom and not a direction of that freedom. Velakachti, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu is taking us. It's too dangerous. Okay. Now, another thing, another very, very famous perush on the 4 cups is the dream of Yosef, because in the dream of Yosef we have the no, how is it called? The one that pours the wine.
The butler in
English. The butler has a dream, which is a nightmare for him, right? And 4 times you have the word cup, okay? He says, I had the cup of Paro, then I pressed the grapes in to have it fresh, in the cup of Paro. I had in hand the cup of Paro. I pressed, schite, also on Shabbos, the juice in the cup of Paro, and I put the cup of Paro in the hand of Paro, okay? And HaKadosh Baruch and Yosef HaTzadik answers him. This is the explanation of the dream. In 3 days, HaKadosh Baruch Paro will liberate you, and you'll be back to your job, and you will put the cup of Paro in his hand, okay, like in the past. All this is in Perek Mem in Bereshis, in the dream of Yosef who is in prison, okay? What is very nice, 4 times cup, but what's the connection with the 4 cups that we drink on the Leil HaSeder? And the Meforshim explain that the liberation of Mitzrayim will be a copy, a little bit, of the destiny of Yosef. What does it mean? That Yosef tried in a horrible, horrible place, very, very corrupted, and etc., to make it better. And like the freedom of Yosef from the prison, and slowly but surely becoming bigger, will be exactly the same as the 4 cups of the Sarah. In other, it's what it is. It's a Sarah Mashkim, a bad dream. Yosef explains the dreams, gets out the chipazon very fast, the same day, suddenly, and and begins being the one that will give food to a whole generation and to do good. Okay, so it's very, very interesting. Okay, will be the same with Yetziat Mitzrayim, and as well, it seems, at the time of Mashiach. It will be fast. Yetzer Hashem in our days. Now, Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, the one of the four expressions is Rafuna in the Gemara. And Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi connects it with the Arba Galuyot. So the four cups is, since Mitzrayim is contains in itself Bavel, Paras, Yavan, and Edom. So the four cups are reminding us of the four Galuyot that will come from the Galut of Mitzrayim. Okay, until suddenly everything will be beautiful, etc., etc. Okay, now I think there are more explanations, but I think I want to go to the next one. So the next one is Kadesh Urechatz. Now you know that Rechatz used to be only the head of the family, and lately we have more and more knowledge and more chumras and more whatever. In a lot of places, people wash their hands, the whole family. It's based on the halacha that something wet from one of the 7 liquids that are mekabel tum'ah at the time of the Beit HaMikdash, you have to wash your hands. So as a reminding of this, we do it, okay? Besides that, before eating korbanot, one had to wash the hands in those days as well at the time of the Beit HaMikdash. And then we have karpas. Now, karpas has many explanations, and a lot of them are based on the fact that in olden times, that's the way one was arranging a meal. One first had a type of hors d'oeuvre, a beginning with karpas. I'm not going into all these things. They're interesting, but I'm not going. What I want to, the usual explanation of karpas is, I just go very slowly, very fast. The usual idea of karpas is that it's strange, and therefore the child should ask questions. Now, I know that from the time I was 5 or 6, I wasn't happy with this explanation. Why do we dip? Why do we eat those type of vegetables? And why do we dip them in water? Because it's tears and everything. And why do we do it? So that you should ask a question. It sounds really like, you know, lama kova, like they say in Israel, you know. It's not a real answer. Okay? So there are a lot of beautiful explanations. And one of them is that it's an imitation of what happened. Moshe Rabbeinu came, sent by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and said to Israel, would you like? He put the beginning of hope in their head. And he said, would you like to be liberated from Egypt? And they were all, he began working on them. And then he disappeared, Moshe Rabbeinu, for a while. But because he had put the seed of hope in their heart, now they want. And this is exactly what, how do you say aperitif? How do you say?
An appetizer. An appetizer.
Hors d'oeuvre in French. What an appetizer is something that opens your appetite. If you want to be on a diet, don't eat an appetizer, because the idea is just the opposite. It's to give you cheshek to eat. But when you make a beautiful meal for a simcha or a seudat mitzvah and everything, an appetizer is a beautiful idea. The hors d'oeuvre, the beginning. And the karpas is this. And you know, karpas is very hard because you should eat less than a kazait, and everybody wants more because it's already late, and etc. And especially children, they want more. It doesn't matter what you use for karpas, like it won't matter the zroa and everything. It makes no difference. But people are used to parsley or to celery or to even potatoes and radishes, which are not green. But karpas became a word for green. Yes, karpas utrelet. In the Megillat Esther, it's green, things which are green. Because most vegetables are on the green side. At least there are, even if you have something which is different color, but the leaves around it or something are green. So the idea of, like Moshe Rabbeinu came to give them a cheshek, we begin having a cheshek, and then we'll be all alive when they ask me if I want to give the last class before the meal at lunch or the class after the meal, I always say before the meal, because one is very awake because one wants to eat. But after the meal, poof, one falls asleep. Okay, so the purpose is to keep us up and alive and everything. Okay, this is karpas, and we dip it, and that's why we wash the hands before. Some people say we don't have to wash the hands before because only the balabait dips, and when you eat it, it's already not the part which was dipped. So be very careful to eat the dry part. The 7 liquids, it's not important because it's not lemaise today, but you all saw in life people washing an apple because it's dirty from all the things they put on it that it should grow well and without bugs and everything. You wash it and then you dry it. Instead of drying it, you could wash your hands before. But if you don't want to wash your hands before, at least you dry it with some niar sofeg or whatever. This is the idea. Until now, are there questions? Or everything is clear and normal and you know it all? Nobody wants to say anything? Yachat is you take the middle matzah. You remember there are 3 matzahs, Kohen, Levi, Israel, and you take the middle one, and the big part becomes the afikomen, which is hidden, and the small part you put back in. And I saw a beautiful perush that the fact to cut in 2 a matzah, which is a bread of misery, lachma anya, lechem oni, of poverty, at the beginning of the seder is a symbol to be ready, that we should be ready to share half, a bit bigger, a bit smaller, our bread with the poor. And it's very nice because immediately after we have Magid. And Magid is begins with halachma anya. Now, it's a very, very easy Aramaic, the halachma anya. It's easier than all the others, okay? So the famous Magid Miduvno, who wrote always Mesholim so that you should understand, he illustrates this beautiful idea of the Magid, L'Shana Haba, Yerushalayim, L'Shana Haba B'nei Chorin, Hashata Avde, we're still Avodim, etc., etc. And he says the mashal of a family that was very, very, very poor. I make it very, very short. It's a long, beautiful story. A family that is very, very poor, and they have a tiny house and not enough to eat. And suddenly he wins a lottery ticket. And he becomes so rich that he can buy a mansion, etc., etc. But every year, on the day of the Ness, what he got, they go back with the old clothes, which are torn, and with matzah, bread of misery, and they remind themselves to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the big miracle that once upon a time they were poor. Very nice. And then somebody asks him to lend him money because he's going abroad in a boat to do business. And as soon as he comes back, he'll give him back the money. And he doesn't hear from him in such a long time that he's sure that the ship drowned, sank, the people drowned, the ship sank, and slowly but surely he has to sell everything and they become as poor as before. So they go back to the old house and they have nothing, etc. But on the day of the miracle that had happened and now was lost, the father forces them to again remember all what happened. They were poor and then they became rich and then they're poor again. So the children ask, what's going on? Why do we now? We don't need it. We needed it when we became rich, not to forget. But now that we are poor again, we don't forget that we are poor. And the father said it's a totally different story. First time we were poor, it was a fact. Afterwards, we became rich and we saw that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to save us. Now we saw the miracles. Now when we are poor, we know that we can expect it's poverty, but with a hope that it's going to change. And sure enough, says the Magid Miduvno, the other guy was delayed, but he comes back and he makes them rich again. So the father said the second time when they went and feasted the Nissim, even though now they were poor again, is a totally different story because it's all the hope of a better future. So, and that future will come again. So it's a very beautiful story. Okay, now going back for a moment to the 15 words. Now that I am up to Magid, that I did the first part, which Baruch Hashem is gone, I want to work with you 2 minutes on the Seder plate and on the 15 words. And then we go to Al-Achmania. So first of all, the Zoroa is to remind us of what? Korban Pesach. And it makes no difference. Some people are making Mesirus Nefesh to look for a head of a keves, and some people a head of a fish, even all kinds. It doesn't matter. It can be a plastic bone. We don't do it, but it can be a kanaf of a chicken. It can be, the main thing, it should be a bit roasted. And here comes all the halachas, and it's about 6 shiurim minimum. I'm almost sure that Rebbetzin, unless she did it not long ago, if she did Shmot, Rebbetzin Heller, Rebbetzin, no, not Heller. If you ever heard her giving a shiur somewhere, Mrs. No, what's her name? Rebbetzin.
You mean Rebbetzin Heller? Her name is now Gottlieb. Yeah.
Gottlieb. Today she's Rebbetzin Gottlieb at Mervesring. So Rebbetzin Gottlieb, she has 100 shiurim on the Korban Pesach because she's specialized in Maharal, and the Maharal in Gurarie and in other books has tens and tens and tens of pages. For example, why does it have to be roasted and not cooked? So what the difference? Something which is roasted is becoming harder and harder, and what is cooked becomes softer and softer. So it says in the first perek, the more they were made to suffer, the more they became strong. No question. We don't ask for nisyonos. But if we do, we are a person that is stronger. We always say, the generation of the Second World War, they were stronger than us because we were a generation where those parents that suffered so much wanted to give us so much and spoiled us so much that we're weak. But they became more numerous. For example, Shevet Levi suffered less. It had been prepared by Yosef. They suffered less. They were the least numerous. We get the strength from HaKadosh Baruch Hu when things are bad, and this is symbolized by the Korban Pesach, which is only roasted. It has to be eaten till the next morning, and if not, you have to throw it, so that we should invite the whole family. Achdus. The only way to be saved is Achdus. Then we have many, many more explanations on Korban Pesach. We have the Korban Chagiga, the Beitza, which is a little bit, that's just a minhag, to burn it a little bit as well, a hard-boiled egg. Don't take, first year of marriage, I took a normal egg and I put it on the fire because I had seen my mother do it, but I didn't realize, when you don't have the full responsibility, you can help till tomorrow, but you don't know the details. And it made a platz all over the room because it was not hard-boiled. It was just a fresh egg, overboiled. So don't. But the hard-boiled egg, which is Korban Chagiga. So first of all, in the egg, you have as well the concept of Kasher Yanu Oto Ken Yirbe V'chen Yifrot. Why? Because an egg is the opposite. A potato is hard. You cook it in water, it becomes soft. An egg is soft. You put it in water and you cook it, it becomes hard. And the fire is always the idea of suffering. So Kasher Yanu Oto, that's one idea of the egg. Then we have the ideas that it's round. It's a cycle. And Korban Chagiga is for the Chagim. And what's the connection with an egg? Why not another piece of bone or something with some meat? Because even though it was a sacrifice of meat, because the word Chagiga comes from Chag, and Chag is Machog, Mechoga. It's a cycle. Every Chag is connected with another Chag. They are all connected. Pesach is just to get to Shavuos because that's the purpose. We're not just getting out, like I said, the Lakachti is the purpose. Hashem takes us under his wing. So that's why Chagiga is an egg, because it's the idea of a cycle, the cycle of the Chagim. every Chag is connected with another Chag, right? Purim with Yom Kippur, and Shavuot which is called Atzeret, with Shmini Atzeret, which is the end of Sukkot, etc., etc., etc. So this is this. The Charoises, everybody knows, there are no halachas, but the Gemara mentions, and I don't know why we don't do it. The Yakas don't do it, the real Ashkenazim don't do it, but in the halacha, it says it's not a halacha, but it's an interesting idea to put dates in it, pieces of dates in it.
So you know, we always made it with nuts, not with dates, nuts, apples, and wine. And one of my grandchildren is allergic to nuts, so I started putting dates in instead of nuts. And afterwards, when they stopped coming from America, I went back to the nuts. I couldn't get used to it. The dates were much better.
Yeah, when you said just dates, we use apples mainly.
Apples, dates, and wine. Yeah.
Either nuts or walnuts or almonds, something. Red wine. That's why it's worthwhile making it not Erev Pesach, but a day before, because lechatchile, you should not drink red wine, you shouldn't drink wine, and you shouldn't eat matzahs on Erev Pesach, neither bread nor matzahs, nor wine, because it should be chadash on the night of Pesach. So when you want to know if your charoset is good and you drink and you take a big piece with wine, the local karpashut. Lechatchila, you should not. So, or you put whatever. So that's the charoset, many ways, sugar and whatever you want, whatever you do is beseder. It should look a bit brownish, oxidated, so that it should be the millet and what you build with. Okay, the moror, it has to be something which is edible. So many people used to in olden times use horseradish, and horseradish is so sharp that you can't eat a kazais of it, and you have to eat a kazais of it. It's not the oraise, it's the rabbanan. It's the rabbanan. Even the 4 cups are the rabbanan. But the only thing which is the oraise is the kazais matzah. Karpas we spoke about. Mei melach is the water with salt, and a lot of people use all kinds of lettuce, and the reason is because trilato matok v'sofo mar, what we said, parer perach, the lettuce is good, but if you get to the heart, to the white part, it's a little bit bitter. So at the beginning, it looked very nice, Egypt, and we got used to it, but it became terrible. It was very nice in Germany for many generations with so much culture, and it became a horror story. It was very nice in Poland. They called it Polania, Hier les Hashem. And that's why the Yiddishkeit developed so much. The Rabbonim used to call it Polania. Can you imagine? And it ended up with the Gzerot Tachvetat and Cossacks and Russia and Poland together, don't ask. So that's why the lettuce, but you have French people use endives, for example, which is very bitter to begin with. You can use more or less what you want, depending on the minhagim. All these things are beautiful and they are minhagim. And sometimes you put it in, you'll take it out. There are many minhagim. Now, connected with this, Kadesh Urchatz, Karpas, Yachatz. Yachatz, I like the concept that we cut it too because we want to show that we'll invite the poor, etc., and that we give tzedakah. That's always good for the Chagim. Magid is going to be the Agodah. And then we have Rachza. And in most Agodas, you are going to have Rachza and not Rechatz. Rachza, and here the Pshat is the same as Rechatz, but now everybody is going to wash their hands. Al Netilat Yadayim. The minhag is that the head or the heads, if there are 2 men or 3 men, depends, of the mishpocha, one brings them because they are free people now. So they have like servants that are going to bring them at the table with a shusel, to wash their hands. If you don't have, if the woman is tired, the years that I had Corona, believe me, my husband did not demand from him, I couldn't get up. He didn't ask for me to bring him the thing. It's not a halacha, but it's a nice idea of freedom. And why rachza? So this is going to be beautiful, which I'll explain afterwards. Motzi matzah, why 2 words? Because there are 2 brochas. Because we did already Kiddush, remember? But Motzi matzah is Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, and we call it lechem because matzah is called lechem oni, and in Egypt they ate matzah as well. The main reason given is that it takes a long time to digest. A lot of people can't take it. Other people love it, but can't take it. And if it takes a long time to digest, you don't feel the hunger so much. And the Egyptians wanted them to cost the minimum amount of money and to be real slaves. Matzah is al-achilat matzah. The only time we say the bracha is the Leil HaSeder because it's the Reise. The next day when you make moitzi or any time during Pesach, you don't say al-achilat matzah. Al-achilat matzah is only when it's the Raita, the night. Maror is going to be the horseradish, the lettuce, and all these things. And you are going to have to remember that for Karpas, you said Borei Pri Adama, so that will be as well for the Maror now. You have to remember it the first time. Korech, it used to be that Pesach, Matzah, Maror are eaten together. We don't have today Pesach, so we eat Matzah and Maror together. And the minhag is to take a bit of the charoises and to put it with as well. But it's in order that the children should feel. There are some stories which are very intellectual and very big, and one ignores the children. That's not the idea of Pesach. The idea you should read once we did together parts of Ravolve. If you remember, we did it long ago, and about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And we read how this Yetziat Mitzrayim has to be muchashi. We have to feel it, and we have to take the kids on our laps and really, Sfardim, you know, they get up and they make as if they're going to, and they turn the seder plate, etc., Shulchan Orech. And then we set the table. And now it's not the all. We have Tzafun, Barech, Halel, Nirtzah later. Now, as you know, and this I remind you, I said it, I remember another year, the Chassam Sofer, which is so beautiful. You know that the night of the Leila Seder is the same night as what?
Tisha B'Av.
In other words, if this year Pesach is on, let's say, Monday night, I don't think it is. I don't remember what it is. This, you remember? Anybody remembers?
Monday night.
Is it Monday night? So my memory was good. 1 minute. I'll tell you in a minute. It's very, very interesting. Erev Chag Pesach, Monday night is going to be the Seder. So Pesach is on a Tuesday. On a Tuesday, right? And Chol HaMoed is going to be Wednesday, and we'll have Shabbos in the middle, etc. So Monday night. So you can be sure that this year Tisha B'Av is going to be as well on a Tuesday, Monday night, in the middle of the. It means that in the Ben Hazmanim, we don't really have 3 weeks, we have 2 weeks, because we have 2 full weeks in the middle, but beginning of Elul and end of Tisha B'Av is going to be, you know, Monday night is going to be Tisha B'Av, so Wednesday one washes the wash, and you don't really have a week, we have half a week or something. Why is it so? There are a lot of days that are the same as other days, but why is it? Says the Chassam Sofer, there is a connection. And in one word, because I once explained it in depth, very, very nice, we have the concept that like somebody taking an antibiotic. I'll give a worse example, lo aleinu, of chemio. You have to take care of what's bad, but you have to make all the time blood tests, because there comes a point where it's very dangerous. You can't continue, you have to stop, even if the job is not finished. If the person takes more koiches, the same with antibiotic. Till the person has more koiches again, and then you can re-begin. And this is what happened. The slavery of Egypt had to be 400 years. Many, many explanations. The 210 was as bad as 400, so hard it was. And we couldn't have taken it. And another explanation that he begins from Abraham Avinu, from the birth of Yitzhak, all these things. But the concept that it was so hard that Hashem had to stop it, because mikotzer ruach u'mi'avoda kasha, If not, they would have been dead. You can't. There is a joke about a horse that you give it, you make him eat less so that it should cost you less. You make him a diet. So the diet is good. He's almost up to eat nothing, just he's dead before it's finished, before the program of the diet is finished. You can't wait for death. You have to stop before it's too late. So because Am Yisrael could not have taken more, this led to Revach ben Eder le'Eder, which is a loshon used by Yaakov, sending presents to Esav, not all in one shot, which doesn't make an impression, but so many sheep, and then a space, and then so many, so that it should make an impression. It looks like more. But on the other hand, it became an expression, Revach ben Eder le'Eder. This expression is the concept of not doing everything in one shot, because they couldn't have taken more, not one more. They were in Mem Tet Sha'arei Tum'ah, 49 degrees of impurity. They couldn't have taken 1 second more. So this led to have 4 exiles later. And 4 exiles are all connected with the Beit HaMikdash. The first and the last one being the destruction, but in the middle, Purim, it was stopped, and Hanukkah, it was made impure. It's all the same idea, and the 2 temples are destroyed. And if we could have taken more, it would have all been done on Pesach, says the Khatam Sofer. So really, Pesach leads to Tisha B'Av, because the Arba Galuyot are connected with Tisha B'Av, and that's why we have an egg as well, and that's why the same night of Leila Seder is always the same night on the same year as Leil Tisha B'Av. Did everybody understand what I said? I tried to say it clear but fast. Did anybody has a question?
I'm good.
No
You're
questions.
Good. Yes?
No questions.
No questions. So, and I should have said it already. Okay, so now I just get to Holachma. We won't be able to do too much today, but then next week we'll work on Magid in depth. So Halachma Anya, Diachalu Avatana Bahara de Mitzrayim. You see, Ha is Hine, very easy. Lachma, everybody understands, it's Lechem. Anya, you have the Aleph at the end. Wherever you have, people that want to have a name that sounds Yiddish or something, you put a lot of Ayin and Aleph and everything. Anya is Oni. Di, Daled and Shin are interchangeable. This is a course of not grammar, but of Aramaic. It's very easy. Di, She. Achalu, Achlu. Av Hatana with an Aleph. Avotenu. Be'ar'a, Be'eretz. De Mitzrayim, Shel Mitzrayim. Again, the Dalet and the Shin. Kol dirfin yete v'yechol, kol ditzrich yete v'yifsach. It's very, very nice. Whoever is hungry should come and eat. Whoever needs it should come and make Pesach with us. Now, that's 2 ideas. You have a millionaire, but he's so alone that if you don't invite him, he has no ruach. He doesn't have a Pesach. And you have somebody who doesn't, you're inviting a family that doesn't have the money to make a Leila Seder, you're saving them from the point of poverty. So it's 2 different things, and we have to be aware of those 2 things. There are 2 different types of needs, but both are important. Hashata Acha. Okay? Hacha is Hine, is Po. Hashata this year, Shana, Shata, yeah? Here, לשנה הבאה בארעה דישראל, בארץ של ישראל, מצרים של ישראל. השתה עבדי, this year we are slaves, and לשנה הבאה בני חורין. Let's hope the next year will be free people, and free means so much, okay? This is as well connected with this story of the Magil Miduvno, okay? That even though we feel that we are free, but now we realize how much we're not free, and how the manipulations of America are sickening, and we are not free people. We know very well that we are not free people. We have to put our trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but we need what they give us, and we're not free. We are pashut not free. L'shana haba b'nei chorin. It's very, very serious, okay? as I said, that this is the bread of poverty which they ate in Egypt. Everybody says, what? No, we ate it when we left. No, as I told you, they ate already a different, mistoma, it was matzah chametz. It wasn't so kosher. But in Egypt, they ate they ate matzah because the Egyptians didn't give anything else. Okay, there are different nuschaot for halach ma'anya. There are those that read it differently. I was looking for. I remember that I saw a perush that somebody was, one of the rabbonim was knocking on all the houses of the poor people that were living in his village or whatever, to invite for real at the time, because we always say this is only the theory, because by then everybody is mesudar. But you should know, I had a family, I lived in Beit Vagan for many, many years, and there was a family that was rich, but they couldn't stand, the father had no nerves, they didn't invite people. They had a big family already, they didn't invite, but every year they would call me and tell me that I should buy for a family all the needs for Leila Seder or for Pesach or whatever. They wanted to give me the money, but I shouldn't give them the money because then the husband would put the money in their debt. I should go with them and buy. And one year they forgot, and 2 days before Pesach, they called Rebbetzin Schlesinger, Zichona Livracha, and she said she can't deal with it. It's 2 days before Pesach. And they called me and they said, do you know somebody that still doesn't have matzah, yain, and everything? Now, 2 days before Pesach in the world of the 20th century, it's pretty hard to find, but I knew people that didn't have what to buy. They didn't have the money to buy. And it was less organized than today. And I spent 4 hours going with them on Pesach was later on a Monday night, on Sunday morning. Not on Monday, but on Sunday morning. And I brought with such a rachvus that I told them, you know, they'll think that you use like they use. But I gave them crates of mitzanavim for 6 months, and chicken for 6 months, and everything they told me they had for 6 months of food, and the people didn't say a word. I gave the cheshbon, and they paid the whole thing. But if I wouldn't have had somebody, you know, 2 days before, so Rabbi Chia would go and he would knock on all the doors just before Pesach. There, it's not just at the time of Pesach in those days. Even nowadays, there are people that if you open your eyes 2 days before Pesach, if you b'mikre invite them, they say, oh, I didn't know how to manage. It does exist. It does exist in the 21st century. I lived it. It was very interesting. It was terrible because I had so much to do and I had nothing better to do. And I didn't want to send her. She was being shamed, and I bought, you know, the rachvus. I still remember. Okay, so this is this. Do we have more time? I don't think so. No, it's time. So next time we begin with Manishtana and Avadim Hayinu, and we'll skip some, but I'll explain at least, like I say in davening, if you give 20 explanations on every paragraph of the Shemona Esrei, you don't think of anything. If you have one explanation, at least you have kavona and you remember it. So we'll try to look for nice things on every paragraph so that we are into it. Okay, we'll try to do Magid next time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, just a beginning to get into it. Okay.